She missed a spot, my mom hissed. Then she slapped my 7-year-old daughter so hard her little head snapped sideways. And everyone just kept clapping. For my sister. For the arrival of the royal twins. For the stupid gold-trimmed balloons and satin sashes that read future heirs. I stood frozen, holding the paper plate of dry cake I didn't even want. Watching my child, my baby, get punished for not scrubbing a floor fast enough. Barefoot. With a rag. At a party. My name is Vanessa. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever stood in a room full of people who claim to love you, and realized you were completely, heartbreakingly alone? I should have screamed. Should have grabbed my child and walked out. But I was raised to be quiet. To not embarrass the family. To understand tradition. So I stood there, clutching that stupid cake, while my sister Amber posed with her twins in front of a custom step-and-repeat wall, like some B-list celebrity. She's overreacting, my aunt whispered when my daughter started crying. It's just a slap. We all got slapped. But it wasn't just a slap. It was a message. A message from a family that had no intention of seeing my child as one of their own. A family that saw my daughter as a servant, and my silence as compliance. I made it through the party by disassociating. That's the only way I can describe it. Like I floated outside my own body. I laughed when they laughed. Smiled when they took photos. Ate when they passed the tray. But inside, I was already rewriting the will they never knew I had access to. You see, there's one thing about being the quiet one in the family. People forget you have power. They forget whose name was added to the deed when Dad passed and the house had to be refinanced. They forget who paid off the last chunk of the mortgage, just to help. They forget who knows where the paperwork is buried. My daughter spent the rest of that party in the laundry room, crying, alone, until I told her to go sit in the car. I kissed her forehead, locked the doors, and walked back inside to thank everyone for coming. I even hugged Amber. Because that's what wolves do before they devour. And the moment I heard my mom say, next time, Vanessa needs to discipline her child better before bringing her around royalty, I made a silent promise. 2 weeks. I'll give you 2 weeks to enjoy your golden world. Then I'm pulling the ground out from under your feet. Because you don't get to hurt my child and clap like she's nothing. You forgot who owns the walls you worship yourselves in. Now, let's see what happens when they crumble. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of my bed staring at my sleeping daughter, her tiny chest rising and falling, while her cheeks still showed the faint outline of my mother's hand. 7 years old. Sweeping floors at a party for babies who couldn't even hold their heads up. I kept hearing Amber's voice in my head. She needs discipline. Or she'll turn out like her mom. Like her mom. The one who took 2 jobs to raise her alone. The one who gave up law school when she got pregnant because the family name couldn't survive another scandal. The one who paid half the damn house they lived in and got no credit. No thanks. Nothing but orders to bring a dish that doesn't embarrass us, and make sure your kid stays out of photos. I got out of bed at 3 a.m. and went straight to the file cabinet. Pulled out the deed. The refinance agreement. My lawyer's business card. Because here's what no one realized when Dad passed. He was broke. And I bailed them out. Quietly. I paid $83,000 over 4 years. Kept receipts. When they couldn't cover the mortgage balloon payment, I stepped in. It was either that or the bank takes it. And when I paid it off, Mom insisted we put the house in her name and Amber's for safety. But she didn't read the fine print. I added myself as co-owner. With legal right to withdraw at any time pending 30 days notice. They didn't even notice the clause. Why would they? I was invisible. I emailed my lawyer that morning. Initiate removal. Serve official notice. Effective immediately. Then I called the bank. Told them the title was being altered. That they should expect a revocation of collateral. The woman on the other end of the line paused and said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes. I'm done funding people who slap my child and call it culture." My daughter woke up a little after 8, and when I told her we were going to a hotel for a few days, her face lit up. "Is it one with a pool?" she asked. I nodded. It had a pool and breakfast and no one yelling at her to scrub tiles. But by noon the text started. What is this? A letter from some lawyer? Amber, are you trying to humiliate us? Aunt Jean, Vanessa. What have you done? And then the real one came. Bank. We regret to inform you that due to a change in title, your home equity line of credit has been revoked effective immediately. They'd taken out a $130,000 line without telling me, and now it was due. I smiled. Because when you treat someone like a ghost, don't act surprised when they haunt you. The screaming started 3 days later. Not on the phone. Not in a text. But in person right outside my job. I was on my lunch break standing in line at the corner falafel cart when I heard it. There she is. I turned. And there they were, my mother Amber and my Aunt Jean, storming toward me in full fury. My co-workers froze. People stopped eating. The falafel guy backed up. You dismantled our entire home structure, Mom barked. Your father's legacy, destroyed. Amber was sobbing like she was on some reality show. We have babies, Vanessa. Infants. They need stability. Then my mom did something unthinkable. She turned to my manager, who had just walked outside to see what was going on, and said, "You need to know she's mentally unstable. She's hurting the family." My manager looked horrified. "I'm sorry, what?" "She needs help," Mom said. "She's stolen from us, she's put children in danger. You have to check her finances. We think she's hiding money. We want to see her bank statements. She might be a danger to herself." I dropped my food. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. My cheeks burned. And then Amber looked at me, her lips trembling, and whispered, "You're a shame." That was the moment. The crack in the dam. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even flinch. I pulled off my work badge, handed it to my manager, and said, "I quit. Effective immediately." He blinked. "Vanessa, wait, you don't have to." "No," I said. "I do. Because if I don't leave now, I'll never forgive myself for letting them poison one more space I've built." I walked straight past them. Amber lunged forward, grabbing my sleeve. "You can't do this. You're ruining everything. What about the house? The twins?" I turned to her. And for the first time in my life, I didn't speak like a daughter or a sister. I spoke like a woman who had nothing left to lose. "I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped pretending you deserved what I gave you." And then I walked away. That night they tried to call over 20 times. Blocked numbers. Emails. Even fake Instagram accounts messaging me, pretending to be lost cousins. But I was silent. I was done justifying my pain. Done explaining to people who only listened when their lives fell apart. And oh, their lives were falling apart. The home equity line had frozen every dollar they had tied to renovations. Their contractors walked off site. The mortgage ballooned. And Amber's mommy and me influencer deals started to disappear when the PR nightmare hit the local press. I watched it all happen, from my hotel balcony. My daughter sat next to me with a popsicle, swinging her legs. "Is Grandma mad?" I didn't answer. Because the truth was, Grandma had been mad for a long time. Mad that her control was slipping. Mad that the one daughter who never raised her voice finally picked up a pen and ended her kingdom with a signature. And I hadn't even started yet. 2 weeks after I signed the title revocation, the letters arrived. Not emails. Not texts. Certified. Legal. Told. One for my mother. One for Amber. One for my Aunt Jean. Each stamped and notarized with my new attorney's seal. They said, "Effective immediately, your right to reside at 118 Meadowbrook Lane has been revoked. All utilities, maintenance contracts, and financial ties in my name are terminated. You have 30 days to vacate." The house was technically still under our trust, but that trust had clauses. Ones only I could activate. Ones they laughed off when Dad died, assuming I'd never have the nerve to pull them. But I'd studied every line. For months. While they were throwing their royal twins baby shower. While Mom was planning the influencer nursery makeover. While I sat in the back cutting strawberries and being told I wasn't really family anymore. They never thought I'd make a move. But I did. I transferred my share of the trust to a private holding company, one that required full transparency on any occupancy. And when the occupancy proved fraudulent, no rental income declared, misuse of funds, violation of zoning agreements, I had cause. And cause meant eviction. The real estate lawyer they scrambled to hire called me ruthless. I call it survival. The day the bank posted the foreclosure notice, Amber posted a crying video on Instagram. She blamed online trolls and jealous women who didn't believe in sisterhood. She begged her followers to send prayers, and tagged a GoFundMe link. I watched the likes roll in. I saw the pity. And then I sent a quiet email to her brand sponsors. I didn't lie. I just highlighted the facts. Unpaid taxes. Frozen assets. Fraudulent use of joint inheritance funds. A pending eviction for breach of contract. Oh, and that charity GoFundMe? Registered in her husband's name with no listed purpose. 2 days later, her PR agency dropped her. Then the sponsored diaper brand. Then the interior design company that had gifted her nursery furniture. He posted a story. I can't believe someone would try to destroy a mother like this. I'm just trying to raise my babies. But the comments were brutal now. Even her fans started turning on her. And Mom? Mom stopped showing up in public. My cousin said she'd taken to staying in her bedroom, refusing to eat. That she kept mumbling. She wasn't supposed to fight back. She was never supposed to fight back. But I wasn't fighting. I was simply walking away, taking everything I had built with me. My daughter and I moved into a sunlit townhouse on the other side of the city. No drama. No demands. Just peace. One morning, I caught her singing to herself while brushing her tiny ponytail. I like this house, she said. It smells like quiet. And in that moment I realized. Revenge wasn't fire. It wasn't rage. It was the absence of begging. The power of peace. But just when I thought it was over, I got an unexpected call. Blocked number. Familiar voice. Vanessa, it's Dad's lawyer. They're trying to unseal the estate records. Your family is planning something. I looked out the window. And smiled. Let them try. They tried to break in. Not literally, but through the courts. They filed a petition to have my trust amendments reversed, claiming mental instability, emotional duress, and coercion by third parties. Their lawyer even referenced the day they stormed my workplace, twisting it into some kind of intervention. They wanted the house back. They wanted my daughter investigated for educational neglect. They wanted me punished for walking away. The audacity stunned even my attorney. But I wasn't scared. I was furious. They had raced me to be quiet, to play the role of background harmony while Amber danced solo. But when harmony walks away, the melody collapses. My attorney and I prepared. We pulled screenshots, witness statements, financial records showing every dollar I spent on that house, versus the zero they contributed. We even found a neighbor's doorbell footage from the baby shower. Amber shouting at my daughter for touching the balloon arch. My mother slapping a napkin out of her hand. My daughter flinching. That footage would shatter their whole family values argument. The court date was set. But they never made it. 2 days before the hearing, a repo truck showed up at Meadowbrook Lane. Turns out, in their scramble to file legal motions, they forgot something important. The mortgage. With my name removed and no backup assets, the bank called the loan. The house. The one they used for Amber's maternity shoot, the one with the $12,000 gold-plated crib, was no longer theirs. I didn't even have to lift a finger. I sat on my townhouse porch that afternoon, sipping tea while my daughter painted chalk flowers on the steps. And then came the screams. I heard them before I saw them. Wailing. Barking out my name like a curse word. I looked up the block and there they were. Amber in full glam, mascara streaking down her face. My mother, barefoot, holding a torn handbag and a stack of disheveled papers. Jean waddling behind them, shouting into her phone, "Call the judge. Call the judge." They stood at my gate, screaming my name. Screaming about betrayal. About disgrace. About how we're family. I stayed inside. Quiet. My daughter peeked through the curtain and whispered, "Are they ghosts?" I smiled. "No, baby. Just echoes." Amber threw something at the gate. A sandal. My mom sank to the curb, sobbing into her knees. And that's when I knew. They weren't grieving the house. They were grieving the control. The easy leverage. The guilt strings. The certainty that I would always show up, write a check, smooth it over, carry the weight. But I dropped it. And without me they had nothing left to lean on. Later that night I got a message. From an unknown number. Just 5 words. "How could you do this?" I didn't reply. But if I had, I would have said, "How could you?" They disappeared for a while after that. No more tantrums at the gate. No more sobbing voicemails from blocked numbers. Just silence. But silence from my family is never peace. It's plotting. I started getting strange calls from former colleagues. Hey Vanessa, everything okay? Your sister said you were in the hospital. Another said Amber claimed I'd had a breakdown. One person whispered, she's telling people you're under psychiatric evaluation. That your daughter's been taken. I laughed bitterly. My daughter was in her room building a glitter palace out of cardboard. I was healthier than I'd been in years. But I saw it now. This wasn't just about a house. This was about erasing me. Amber was trying to rewrite the narrative. If she couldn't control me, she'd control what the world thought of me. So I did what they never expected. I spoke. I posted one photo on social media. Just one. It was a picture of my daughter and me at the park. Her tiny arms around my neck, our faces glowing in the golden hour light. Caption: peace is when you stop performing and start living. Within 2 hours the comments exploded. Former classmates, old friends, coworkers. They started sharing their own stories. My sister too. My mom always made me feel like the backup plan. This hit so deep I had to pull over. I didn't mention names. I didn't expose secrets. But truth doesn't need a name to sting. 3 days later, Amber went on live again. She was unraveling. Sitting in a plastic chair in what looked like a rented motel room, ranting about betrayal and false victims, and how people don't understand what it's like to have family turn on you. But now the comments weren't so kind. Someone posted, "Didn't you make your niece sweep the floor at a baby shower?" Another, "Your GoFundMe says it's for your babies but your husband just bought a new iPhone?" The internet has a short memory, until it doesn't. And then, a knock on my door. Not them. Worse. A woman in a tailored suit. "Miss Rhodes?" she asked politely. I nodded. "I represent the estate of your grandmother, Sylvia Rhodes. You've been named the sole executor." I blinked. I didn't know she left anything. She didn't. But she wrote something, just before she passed. "Would you like to see it?" She handed me a small envelope. My name in my grandmother's perfect cursive. Inside, one sentence handwritten. "I saw it all, Vanessa. Thank you for protecting what I was too afraid to." I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just stood there, shaking, holding proof that someone had seen me. Not just tolerated me. Not used me. Seen me. Later that night I stood in the kitchen watching my daughter sleep on the couch, arms sprawled like a starfish. And I made a promise. This ends with me. This bloodline doesn't have to carry the bitterness, the abuse, the quiet sufferings wrapped in tradition. She will know love without obligation. Joy without debt. Family without chains. The will changed everything. Grandma Sylvia had left a plot of land, undeveloped but valuable, in the Catskills. More than that, she left a letter. Pages and pages of truth. She spoke of the silences she endured. The way my mother had mocked her faith. How Amber was given everything because she looked the most marketable. How Jean once threatened to put Grandma in a care home when she didn't co-sign on a loan. She'd seen everything. She'd watched and regretted staying silent. But her final act was giving me the seed of freedom. I took that land and sold it for $320,000. It was poetic justice, really. The same number Amber bragged about spending on her royal twins' arrival. The money they had assumed would somehow circle back to them, through guilt, obligation, or trickery. I didn't spend a dime on luxury. I invested it into a private trust. For my daughter. For therapy. For school. For travel. For joy. And then I took one final step. I exposed everything. Not on Facebook. Not in anger. But in an op-ed I wrote anonymously for a national platform about breaking cycles of emotional abuse within families. It went viral. It was raw. It was vulnerable. And it struck a nerve with thousands of women who had been the silent sister. The responsible daughter. The emotional mule. Within days I was invited to speak on a podcast. Then another. Then a local TV segment. I never mentioned names. I didn't need to. But Amber knew. My mother knew. Jean knew. The last time they tried contacting me, it wasn't a phone call. It was a package. Inside was a photo album. My childhood. Birthdays. School plays. The few times I smiled wide because I thought they saw me. Tucked in the back was a note in my mother's handwriting. "We didn't know how to love you. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see it." I stared at those words for a long time. They weren't healing. But they were honest. I didn't respond. Some people think revenge is about destruction. But sometimes revenge is simply this: living in full color after they insisted you fade. My daughter and I took a trip that spring. We walked through redwood forests and hiked along cliffs that kissed the ocean. She said, "Mommy, I feel like I can breathe better here." So we stayed an extra week. And one morning, while sipping coffee on a porch wrapped in mist and birdsong, I finally felt it. Not victory. Not vengeance. Peace. They still scream my name sometimes, according to neighbors. They call me selfish. They say I tore the family apart. But I didn't tear it apart. I just stopped taping the cracks together. And when I stopped, the whole rotten house came down. I heard them outside again last week. Amber's voice, raspy, tired, hysterical, screaming, "Vanessa, please. You can't do this to us. You've ruined everything." My name echoed through the iron gate like a ghost refusing to leave. They stood there, her, Jean and my mother, behind the rusted gate of their repossessed home. Once pristine white walls, now chipped. The fountain dry. The garden overgrown like no one had loved it in months. They were finally living in the aftermath of their own choices. They'd burned the bridge expecting me to still carry them across. But I didn't burn anything. I just walked away. And they collapsed without me. I stood at my upstairs window looking down at them like a painting I had outgrown. Amber in a faded sweatsuit. Jean pacing, fuming. My mother silent, holding something in her hands. A photo. My daughter sweeping the floor, tears on her face. I remembered that day so clearly. The stifling heat. The applause for the royal twins. My child being shoved, slapped for missing a speck of dust. While I stood there, ashamed of my silence. But not anymore. I opened the window slightly. Enough so they could hear me. "I'm not coming down," I said, calm as a sunrise. "I'm not giving you money. I'm not explaining myself. And I'm not letting you near my daughter." Amber sobbed. "She's our family." "No," I said. "She's my family. I protect her now, something none of you ever did for me." They begged. They threatened lawsuits. Jean even shouted, "We'll tell the world how unstable you are." I smiled softly. "Go ahead. The world already knows the truth. And they believe me now." A week later, a local church reached out. They'd seen my op-ed and podcast. They asked if I would speak to young women breaking free from toxic homes. I did. And I told them this: "You are not obligated to bleed for the people who gave you paper cuts every day and called it love." Afterward, a girl hugged me so tightly she shook. "I thought I was the only one," she whispered. "You never were," I said. "They just made you believe that." My daughter and I moved again recently. Not because we had to, but because we could. A small coastal town. Quiet. Safe. Clean air and kind strangers. She dances in the kitchen now. She laughs in her sleep. I work remotely. I write. I breathe. Last month I bought us matching silver rings. Inside mine, engraved in tiny script. "It ends with me." Inside hers. "It begins with you." We are not rebuilding the house they burned. We're building a new home. One with open windows, soft voices, and real love. And the gate. It's always closed to ghosts.